So Andrew, I've been thinking personally, in terms of the process of, let's say, closing a deal on a property, and I think what's paramount to, let's say, closing that deal is building a lot of rapport and a relationship with obviously the person who you're negotiating with in terms of closing the deal.
Okay.
What sort of advice or areas or tips would you share with fellow property investors in terms of negotiating that final close? And I think the context of obviously the final close is, a lot of below market value property. You're either dealing with mostly a seller that's fairly motivated to sell for some other reason in their life. So obviously that's the context of that. So share some insight on the negotiation side.
Okay. When it comes to negotiating on a deal, Warren, I'd always say find the win-win. And what I mean by find the win-win, I'm talking about when you go in there to negotiate the first time or to speak to the seller, it's all about listening and not talking. So it's all about finding out why they're selling, when do they need to sell by, have they gone to a local estate agent to see if they can get a higher price, because you've already pre-vetted on the phone when you spoke to them the first time that you're a property investor and you don't pay retail prices. So already by you saying that in the first conversation, they know that you're an investor and you're not going to pay full market value. So in the beginning, you're saying things to them like, have you been to a local estate agent, because you will get a higher price. But the disadvantage of going to an estate agent is it could be on the market for a year. And as you know, Warren, I'm a property investor. I can complete in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Particularly if you're a cash buyer and you have the funds available.
No, definitely, yeah. And so that's the first thing, is to sink into the head that you're an investor, you won't pay full market value, and you are going to buy at some kind of discount. So they know that, they need to know that from the beginning. Then it's ways of, if you find out that they do need to sell now, there is equity on the property and there's a good reason for them selling, it's a case of just being honest with them and being open with them and sitting down like you and I now and saying, I've been around the property, I note that there's a few works which need to be done. Because I'm a property investor, I'm going to rent it out. I want to put a new kitchen in, I want to put a new bathroom in, I want to give a lick of paint and put new carpets down. And as an investor, when I buy this house, I need to make some kind of profit. So what I'll do with the seller is I'll build rapport and I'll start justifying my future offer, which it might go something like this, Warren. So your house, in my opinion, is worth X. I'm going to spend X amount on the property, so I'd like to offer you X.
Yeah, the discounted of what you're going to spend on the property.
Obviously, there's a full calculation in the background that she doesn't know about. But when I put that offer in, Warren, I keep quiet. It's an open-ended question. I put the offer in, you keep quiet, and there's a rule in the sales game called "He who speaks first loses." And the chances are they're either going to say yes, I accept, which means if they say yes and they've accepted, it means that you've offered too much, probably. Or they say, I need to speak to my partner, or they're going to say no outright. But where I find people go wrong, Warren, is they're too scared to ask that question, or they ask the question and they speak straight away and they lose. So my best advice is this: in the beginning, they need to know that you're an investor and that you're not going to pay full market value. You then need to justify your offer, and you then just need to put the offer in and keep quiet. That's it.
And in your experience, I mean, have you ever gone back on the offer, or do you largely always remain firm?
What, in terms of increasing the offer?
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. You always need to know what your walkaway price is. So, for example, if my walkaway price was £50,000 on the property, my first offer isn't going to be 50. It's probably going to be £44,000. So 9 times out of 10, the answer should be no to an offer because it's so low. And every now and then it will be a yes, which is fantastic. But let's just say it's a no for now. I'll go away and I'll come back maybe a couple of days or 3 days later and I'll say, look, I need to speak to my local surveyor, or I need to speak to my business partner. And once I've spoken to them, I'll come back to you. I'll go back to them in 2 days or 3 days and say, listen, I can increase my offer. I can only go up to 45, 46,000. If they still reject at that point, there's two things I'll do. I'll ask them the question. I know that you want £50,000. I've offered you 46. How close can you come to 46,000? And I'll try to bring them down as much as I can. And two things happen. You either meet halfway in the middle, or you get a deal accepted somewhere at 46, 47, or it's a complete no for now. the lead goes into the database and you walk away and you follow up on that lead month on month.
Oh, again, I think thanks for sharing that insight. Very, very useful tips. Thanks, Andrew.
Cool, thanks.